It's time for an episode in the land down under, the land down under. We're in the city that has the name of statistically F1's most successful driver, along with being the name of a musical that I'll be honest, I'm not really that interested in the slightest. Although that doesn't stop you from enjoying them yourselves. On the North Island of New Zealand, Hamilton was the host of 5 rounds of the V8 Supercars Championship from 2008 to 2012. This round replaced Pukekohe as being the V8 Supercars' annual trip to New Zealand. Officially, the track layout classified there being 9 turns. However, I'm sorry, but that just isn't right at all. It's 11 corners at a minimum. Sure, some of them are easy flat in dry conditions, however, there are countless corners in the world of racing which are flat out, yet at the same time are classified as a corner. Either way, the layout, all 2.1 miles / 3.3 kilometers, was an interesting one. Once you go down Mill Street over the start-finish line, you are met with a tight 110-degree right-hander, which... No, Tim, you went too far. Okay, too late. So needless to say, that's not how you take turn 1. Yes, I know he aquaplaned in the wet conditions, just a joke. Even so, it's a fairly wide corner luckily, with not much of a pinch point, which means there isn't a terrible bottleneck every time we come to a start/restart, which, considering what sort of cars these are, that's pretty impressive to have managed to achieve. The following corner is a hairpin. I mean, there isn't really much more to say on that front. It is what it says on the tin. This, I would say, is your best opportunity at an overtake on this track. The straight is long, it's a heavy braking zone, and the corner has lots of space to fit multiple cars in. Plus, the nature of the corner also means you can attempt a cutback on the driver at the exit of the corner. Then we come to what in my opinion is the best section of this track. Its official name might have been the Samsung Sweeper, however for me I've decided to call it the Around a Roundabout Bend. Mainly because you are going around half of a roundabout. However, it looks like a really satisfying section to drive through by yourself. After that we have, well, probably the section that is most remembered about this track. Now, whether you would call this a fantastic or woeful part of the track is up to you. Personally, I've always been a bit undecided. In some respects, I despise this chicane. The tyres perched on the inside of the corner were wholly unnecessary. The curbs are big enough so that going over them in the first place is enough of a put-off. Also, if they were hit, they'd have to be reinstalled again, wasting track/racing time. Also, you have to slow down through there quite a lot, meaning the braking zone for the following corner is less of an overtaking opportunity. Then there are aspects that I really like, such as how difficult it is in the first place to get right. The chicane is incredibly narrow. It's also one where, despite the braking, you have to take lots of speed into. And it's also a judgment of how much curb do you use, or rather, what you're able to get away with. There's also no doubting how spectacular it is to see the cars go through there at speed, launching themselves onto 2 wheels. Plus, when looking back at the circuit, I thought that had the chicane not have been there, and the following lion red corner had just one long straight preceding it, it still wouldn't be a great overtaking opportunity, because the entry to the corner narrows up ever so slightly. As far as the rest of the track goes, it's just fairly typical street circuit corners. I mean, it has a 90-degree corner on the track, so let's tick that box to a T. Other than that though, this is a pretty good street circuit. However, that didn't mean issues couldn't be found by the drivers with a bit of help from the weather. In the first race of 2011, the track, albeit greasy, began on dry rubber, but the rain got steadily heavier, until the heavens completely and utterly opened. The teams and drivers gradually went to work to put some wet tyres on. However, as drivers came into the pit lane, complete and utter bedlam was initiated. Several drivers had spins, moments, and crashes. The issue was there was a dip on the entry to pit lane, coupled with how you had to kink to the left to avoid a tyre barrier whilst braking as well, and you had a tricky concoction. Also, if you did manage to enter the pits without brushing the wall or spinning out, you then had to contend with getting into the pit boxes themselves, which were located on top of concrete. A wet concrete surface, even on rain tyres, is a difficult proposition, so when you're on dry tyres, let's just say it caused a few problems. Although I'm glad to say everyone was fine in all of this chaos. Even the pit lane exit had its challenges. However, in the background, things were not going quite as smoothly. You see, the original promoter of the race from 2008, Caleta Street Race Management, collapsed in 2010. The council paid $27.4 million to stage the race. Some of that cost was put towards a new promoter for the Hamilton 400. In December of 2010, the then recently elected Hamilton Mayor, Julie Hardacre, and some of the councillors were deeply concerned. The new promoter for the event was V8 Supercars themselves. They stepped in to save the event. Unfortunately though, the event returned a significant loss, with attendance and corporate sponsorship down from what was anticipated. I think not to mention that the weather was also far from ideal for 2011. So, in September of 2011, V8 Supercars and Hamilton City Council came to an agreement to end the event after 2012, despite the deal for the event being scheduled to have lasted 7 years. In essence, it was still meant to last until 2014. Discussions for putting the event in a November time slot were not favourable for the council for various business and holiday related factors. Also, it was deemed unlikely that the event would ever return in any capacity in the future. Now in 2023, that thought seems to have come to fruition. Julie Hardacre said at the time, "While I am sorry to see such a high profile event go, there has been a cost to the ratepayers which is not sustainable." Sadly, that was the end of that. Although this track had an exciting and tense final lap battle in the last race for this event. I won't show you that in this video just so you don't get any spoilers, however I'll link it in the description because the end seemed rather fitting for a track that won praise from drivers and spectators. It had its flaws, and ultimately this track was a failure on the basis of not delivering on the originally planned longevity for this event. But this circuit as a track itself was far from a failure. It may have had a Marmite chicane, but it's a track that we can look back on with fond memories. That though is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Do you have the same opinion as me on this track? Or do you think this circuit was on a slope as slippery as the pit lane entrance? Say what you think in the comment section down below, along with any other street circuits that you'd like to see me cover. However, until the next video, enjoy the rest of your day.